Hello there, everybody, and welcome to something a little different today. I'm a little late on the tier maker craze, but I figured what was going to be easier for me to make a top 10 video where I had to go get footage from every single Pokemon game in existence, or do a tier list. So, my version of ranking is going to be a tier list. I will rank them in the tiers. For example, this isn't necessarily how I feel, but just for example's sake, let's say I had Red and Ruby. If I put them like this, that means I like Red more than Ruby. Like nice and simple. That's how we're gonna go about it. But what we'll do first is we'll just separate them by tier. I'll try to number them at the same time, but I may go back at the end and I think the tiers I put them in, they're gonna stay in those tiers, but I might reorder them, like re-rank them in the tier. But without further ado, here we go. Red, blue, yellow. Where do I rank red, blue, yellow? Well, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to have to put the blinders on because these are the ones that got me into Pokemon. So naturally, I have a great fondness for them. Without these three, I wouldn't be a Pokemon fan. I did enjoy going back and playing them on the Virtual Console, and they're still fun today and to go back and play, despite taking nostalgia out. I think that for old school Pokemon, because you wouldn't play these three unless you were looking for old school Pokemon, I'm going to put an S for the time being, but we'll see later on, like I said, if they get moved or not. Pokemon Yellow, same thing, just you had Pikachu with you, so we're going to essentially put those three together. Gold and Silver. I actually, for years, I liked Heart Gold and Soul Silver more than Gold and Silver. But in recent years, I've actually grown to have a fondness for the original Gold and Silver. I mean, some of that is just the fact that you get Dynamic Punch as a TM, and you also have the Elemental Punches as buyable TMs. So I love just punching everything. You know, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Dynamic Punch. So like I've grown to really appreciate these a whole lot more. Of course, fun fact about Crystal is it's the only game you can get Shiny Celebi in legitimately without a giveaway. So that's also a neat thing. I think I'm actually going to change Red, Blue, Yellow to be an A tier. And then also put Gold, Silver, Crystal in there. Because I feel like A tier need to be the ones that I've spent so many countless hours on that like I've maxed out game time or something like that. Like absolute best of the best. A is going to be just great games that are fun to replay. B are going to be okay. And C, I took out the D tier because there's no Pokemon games I hate. I love all the Pokemon games, but the C tiers are going to be the ones like, okay, I played through it maybe twice and I may play through it a third time at some point, but like these other games are going to be first on my mind to replay. So, that brings me to Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. I'm going to put Ruby and Sapphire up here. I'm actually going to drop Crystal down because I don't play it as often as Gold and Silver when I go back and play the games. That's not saying that it's a bad game. That's more or less just saying that for me, like, really, I could even put Silver down there because I almost always just play Gold when I go back and replay the games. I'll leave Crystal up there for now, but it might get demoted. Emerald is definitely going to get demoted. That's not to say I didn't enjoy Emerald and the Battle Frontier, but basically I played through Emerald once. Years later, like I literally got Emerald after I had Diamond and Pearl, so I got it a lot later than most people. And it was fun. The double battles were fun and a little more interesting and challenging. But there were more, and more battles aren't necessarily a bad thing when I say this. There were more battles. That was one thing that made it a little different than Ruby and Sapphire. And the Battle Frontier was fun. But again, kind of the same thing as Crystal, which is going to make me actually put Crystal down here again. When I go back and replay these games, I play Sapphire all the time. Occasionally Ruby, but usually Sapphire. Emerald, I played through that first initial time, completed the game. Well, I say completed the game. the Battle Frontier, but I was able to go challenge all of the facilities of Battle Frontier, so I had everything unlocked. Um, but I haven't played it a second time. Like, I just did that first initial run through and just kind of left it at that. So, like, fun game still. I mean, and it's essentially the same as Ruby and Sapphire, minus having more double battles and a stronger difficulty slightly as a result. So, like, if I didn't have Sapphire, I'd probably play Emerald in its place, for example. So it's not a bad game. That's why it's in B tier, not C tier. But I just don't. It's not my first choice to replay. What I'm gonna do moving forward here, to give myself some sort of guideline to go off of here. The duo versions are going to be stuck together. So, for example, even though I don't play blue version a whole lot, I play red a lot, and I'm going to have red and blue grouped together. Same with gold and silver, same with ruby sapphire. The third versions will be judged differently because a lot of times, with exception to the very, very minor changes in yellow, the third versions are different enough that they are a different game a lot of times. So, they're going to be judged separately. I'm not as big a fan of the third versions usually as I am the main ones, so that may be a bit of a spoiler moving forward, but just know that line of thought as I rank the rest of these. Fire red, leaf green. This is a tough one because this is essentially red and blue, like a new version of red and blue. But at the same time, they added some things. You have the Sevi Islands. I almost said Cerebi, like the website. The Sevi Islands, which add the ability to catch Johto Pokemon, and you also have the neat little post-game stuff regarding trying to get Mewtwo. Like, you have to get the Ruby Stone and the Sapphire Stone. They might not be called stones, but you get what I'm talking about. There's the battling Team Rocket and what a lot of people have theorized to be like Archer. So like it's got some nice additions there. Plus you have abilities. So again, like I was saying, if you want to play old school red, blue, yellow without abilities, you play those. If you want to play with abilities, you get fire red, leaf green, which today are still the only Kanto games that have abilities in them. I'm going to put them up here as well. I think for right now, I'm just going to put things in tiers, and I will reorganize the ranking as we go later. Actually, that might be a daunting task, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now. So let's see. I do think I like the original trio better than Gold and Silver by just a little bit. Ruby and Sapphire. I know they're at least ahead of Gold and Silver. Fire Red, Leaf Green, I think I'm going to leave back there just because I do prefer the older ones. And then the B tiers are ranked accordingly. So yeah, I think that's fine right now. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. You know what? I think it looks nicer to have them in order like that. So maybe we'll rank them in another video or at the end of this one. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. Well, Diamond and Pearl first, because again, Platinum, third version, different content, blah, blah, blah. Diamond and Pearl are definitely somewhat near the bottom for me, and that's not saying they're bad. I've played through Pearl, I think, like 6 or 7 times. So I do like them, but just, again, when you're doing a list like this, something has to be near the bottom. I'll do that for now. I think they are good enough. They aren't C tier. I'm going to put Platinum kind of in that same ranking. Platinum, another one like Emerald, though, that I've only played one time through. So if we were doing rankings, for example, we'd probably do something along the lines of this. Where like we have Diamond and Pearl first within those 3, but I'm trying to keep it in order, like I said. So that's where I'm going to put them. They were fun games. Platinum had the fun, like, Wi-Fi Plaza stuff, and, of course, the Distortion World, the different form of Giratina, different gym order. I always go back and play Pearl, though, when I replay them. Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I definitely like those a lot more than the Diamond and Pearl trio and Platinum. Definitely like it more than Crystal and Emerald, so I'm going to put them in the A tier as well. A couple of these A tiers might get moved up to S tier at the end. I want to put like the absolute like top 2 or 3 in the S tier first, and then I'll move on from there. All right, Black and White. Speaking of top tier, Pokemon White version in particular, but Black and White are absolutely, if not my favorite games, they're like second, or like they're very high on my list for Pokemon games. I like the story. I like the Pokemon designs. I like all the characters. I've replayed it over and over and over again. So I maxed out. It was the first game I ever maxed out the game time, 999 hours and 59 minutes. I actually kept a journal shortly after I maxed it out, so I could keep track for a while before I deleted my original save. So it absolutely is number 1 for me. That being said, Black 2, White 2 also get in the A category. They're very good. In fact, looking at these now, I think I'm going to move Ruby and Sapphire up because I do play Sapphire quite a bit, like the original Sapphire. And I'm a Gen 1er. I was 7 when I got my Pokemon Red game, so not going with oh, he likes Gen 5. No, like Gen 5 is just legitimately my favorite anyway. X and Y at the bottom. I've made it well known in other videos on my channel that X and Y are probably my least favorite, if not definitely my least favorite main series Pokemon games. Again, they're not bad games. In fact, they are the games that first got me into breeding for competitive. Black and White was when I first figured out EV training, but X and Y is when I first started putting together competitive teams. So I did have a lot of fun with those games. But again, talk about replay, not counting the third versions, because again, like I don't like the third versions. I haven't played as much as the main ones. But like X and Y, like I think I've played X once and Y twice maybe. Like I just for whatever reason I'm not as excited to play those games. We go to the same generation. I love Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Like I would absolutely play those. So it's not like a graphics thing or a generation thing. I just didn't like X and Y as much for whatever reason. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, absolute great remakes of Ruby and Sapphire. I still kind of prefer the originals a little bit, but I love these two enough that I play them a lot still anyway. Sun and Moon are up at the top. Moon was the second game I've ever had where I maxed out the playtime at 999 hours and 59 minutes. So actually it would be ahead of Ruby and Sapphire if I was ranking it. So Sun and Moon are up there. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon are in the A category, kind of suffering from the same fate as Crystal and Emerald and Platinum, where I tend not to like the third versions as much because I already have my main version. Like, if I've already got the Shiny Charm and the full Pokedex and all my breeding and competitive Pokemon are on Moon, like, yeah, I'm going to play through Ultra Moon, but, like, it's not going to take over. Like, once I'm done with the story and everything, I'm going to go back to playing Moon. And that's what I did, is I played Sun and Moon. And that's what I did with these other games. I always played Red and Blue as opposed to Pikachu. I played Gold and Silver as opposed to Crystal, so on and so on and so on. So that's where things are right now. Let's go Pikachu and Eevee. This is a tough one, depending on how you look at the criteria. It's another Kanto game, and as you can see, I've got 2 Kanto games in the A plot already, the A tier. So I love Kanto. I really love Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. The go catching mechanic, I actually don't have a problem with. It's different, but I don't have a problem with it. The debate for me is A or B, because it's one of those games, and this has kind of been the trend for the B's and C's so far in this video. But Let's Go Pikachu, I have I think 200 hours in, but once you beat the main game, all you can really do is shiny hunt and rematch everybody. And there's not a whole lot of replayability. Like, no offense to Pikachu and Eevee, as much as I love those games and the Again, the shiny hunting is great, battling red, blue, and even green making an appearance. I know green is technically blue in Japan and blue is green in Japan, but I'm going with the English translation. We have red, blue, and green, all being in the game, and even having nods to like Mewtwo being cloned, etc. Like I love Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but I have not replayed Pikachu and Eevee. I still have my original Let's Go Pikachu file, and that's it. I did start another file so I could get a Mew on one of my other profiles for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, but that's it. I haven't actually played through it a second time. And same with Let's Go Eevee. Let's Go Eevee, I didn't even do the post-game stuff. I just beat the Elite Four, and I was done with it. So I'm a little torn because I think quality-wise, compared to the games I've played, it absolutely has the quality of an A-tier game. But the B-tier games all have the quality of A-tier games, and I just don't play them as much. So I think by that logic, I'm going to put Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee in the B tier. Basically, every one of these games except maybe X and Y are games I would replay again. I haven't yet for Emerald, but now that I say that, I'll probably play it instead of Ruby and Sapphire next time I go back to Gen 3. But that's where we kind of stand there. And yes, I know Arceus isn't on here. I will just show you with the mouse where I want. Well, I guess the mouse is the mouse showing up. I don't think the mouse is showing up. Let me see. All right, it says capture cursor, so I'm assuming it'll show up. Is there a way to like minimize this so I can see? Nope. Okay, well, we'll find out in post, I guess. If not, I will just tell you verbally where I put it. All right. Sword and Shield. I have not maxed out the time, but Sword is floating for me at around. I know I have one save file that's 500 hours. I have a couple other files that are also about 50 or so. So I'm going to rule Sword at about 6, somewhere between 6 and 700 hours of playtime. Shield, on the other hand, on my Shield file, I have about 250 to 300 hours. So put together, that's close to maxing out the time for one game. This is Sword and Shield are the best games on this list as far as time spent playing both games. Because as I've talked about, between Black and White, I mostly play White. Like I played through Black, beat the champion, beat the Elite Four and the champion, and then turned everything over to White. Ruby, Sapphire, I beat both games, turn everything over to Sapphire. Sun and Moon, you beat both games, turn everything over to Moon. Sword and Shield, while Sword has been my main file, like my main game, with all the shiny hunting and Dynamax adventure battles, etc., I've put in, again, 300 hours into the second place game of the two. So, whereas if I would have followed the normal formula of, say, 24 hours, 25 hours in the Shield and then dump everything onto Sword would be at around 800 or 900 hours instead of 6 or 7. So this is probably the best duo of games as far as me being engaged in playing both versions quite a bit of the Pokemon series. So I absolutely would put that in the S tier. Arceus. Speaking of games that are up there in hours, my main file on Arceus is over 200 hours of playtime. I have a second file I did on this YouTube channel that also put up quite a bit of hours. I want to say something like between 50 and 100, somewhere in that span. I'm not sure of the exact total, but it's definitely between 50 and 100. So you're talking 250 to 300. I would say it's probably closer to 50 now that I think about it. But anyway, so that puts it either in S tier or A tier. It's absolutely not a B or C game. I would say it depends on how you look at it. Again, with my criteria here. If you're talking about how great the game was, how much time I've put on it, and how much I've enjoyed it, it's absolutely an S tier. If you talk about the likelihood of me playing the game again, It's probably an A tier because I've already played it through twice and completed the Pokedex twice. Do I really want to do that a third time? Although you do get an Arceus out of that if I do that in Diamond and Pearl again. So at least the incentive is good to replay it again. Yeah, I think I would put it. Oh, it's tough because right now, if we're using the S tier as an example, that's my top 4. Do I really see Arceus in my top 5, or do I want like red and blue in my top 5? Oh, that's a tough one. I think what's going to do it for me is replayability because I don't have hour counts for my Game Boy games because I restarted them so many times. I think if I had an hour count, they'd probably beat out Arceus. But let's just pretend that Arceus is right in front of the gold version here in the A tier. It's the top A tier game if you were ranking them. But yeah, that's where I stand on my Pokemon tier list. We've got everything listed like that. Now, if I was going to rank them, which for ranking purposes, I'm going to remove the second versions of the games just to make it. Oh, can I not do that? Really? Well, okay. I was going to try to make this easier on myself, but apparently it's not going to let me do that. So, all right, then I'll have to do it by duos and hope I don't mess this up. I'm going to go by playtime alone here at the top. So I think we're looking at something like this. High debate here between if it's Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield for my second favorite. Well, let's see here. I've played through Moon once, Sun once, although Moon again maxed out the time, and essentially Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but those are different games. Sword, I have 3 save files, and Shield, I have 2 save files. So I think. But then again, I actually bought a second copy of Pokemon Moon, so I wouldn't have to delete that save file. So. Oh, it's a tough one. I'm going to come back to that one. But this is the top 5. I'm including yellow because there's not as much change in that game as opposed to like the other third versions. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that top 5, and I can rearrange 2 and 3 as needed. Let's see here. For the A tier, Gold and Silver or Fire Red Leaf Green? Gold and Silver. Heart Gold Soul Silver or Fire Red Leaf Green? Heart Gold Soul Silver. Black 2 White 2 or Fire Red Leaf Green? That's a tough one. I'm going to say Black 2 White 2, but that's a contested one. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Yes. Are they higher than Black 2 White 2? Yes. I don't think they're higher than those. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, I think are where they should be. For the B tier, Diamond and Pearl at the front, with Let's Go Pikachu Eevee being next, followed by Crystal, Platinum, and Emerald. And then X and Y just kind of chilling out again at the very end. And that's how I have it. Let's see, any other changes? Black 2, White 2 are really good. I think the only points of contention I have are between second place and third place. So, like, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then the A tier between, let's see, 6, 7, 8th place and 9th place. So, judging by this, here's how everything ranks out. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have 17 that we were judging. If I'm not counting Pikachu as an 18th, because it's similar up here. So looking at this, I'm starting to think maybe I should have the trios together. Well, that can be for a generation countdown, like which generation do I think is best, etc. So that's where they rank for games. So we've got X and Y at the bottom for me, with Emerald, Platinum, Crystal, Let's Go games, Diamond and Pearl being next. In the A tier, so we're now at, let's see, top 11. I have the Ultra games at number 11. In fact, you could maybe even make the case to move them down into the B tier. They were kind of borderline. Fire Red Leaf Green at number 10. Black 2, White 2, 9. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire 8. Heart Gold, Soul Silver at 7. Gold and Silver at 6. The original Red, Blue, Yellow at number 5. Ruby and Sapphire at number 4. I do think that I'm fine with it like this. Sword and Shield at number 3 for the time being. Although with all the shiny hunting and stuff, it may eventually grow even higher. Now that I think about it, you can shiny hunt almost all the legendaries. But the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon did that too, and that wasn't enough to move its ranking up. Sword and Shield at number 3. Pokemon Sun and Moon hanging on at number 2. And Pokemon Black and White being the favorites. Is that going to be the final stand, or do I want to make one more change? Boy, that Sun and Moon versus Sword and Shield really is the tough one for me. I've made peace already between 8 and 9, like the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire versus Black 2, White 2. But I just think about it, it's like, well, I don't like Moon. Basically, I just do Battle Tree and breeding. Actually, I did boot up Moon the other day and had a heck of a lot of fun doing the Battle Tree again. So yeah, I'm gonna stick there. I spent a lot of time at the Battle Tree. All right, so that's our final. So top 3: Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon Black and White. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody that watched. Everyone that's still here. I know it's a little bit different than what I normally do on the channel. My recording's a little bit messed up because we had a lot of family over for the last week and a half. And they're the kind of people where even if you tell them to be quiet, I'm making a recording, they still scream at the top of their lungs. So didn't really get a good chance to record while they were here. So something a little shorter to kind of get us started back into the flow of things. And look for some more videos later this week. Don't necessarily look at the schedule above me for this week anyway. But yeah, I'm good. It's good to be back. I hope everyone enjoyed my tier list of the Pokemon games. And maybe I'll do Generations, another episode where I do a tier list of the generations. Because we do have some gaps. Black and White are my favorite games, but Black 2, White 2 are sitting at number 9. Sun and Moon are second, but Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon are at number 11. So, yeah, the generations kind of, it could be interesting when you're putting all the games together in the process. So that'll be its own video maybe in the future. But for right now, I hope everyone enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that YouTube nonsense. And I'll see you next time with some actual, Let's Play style gaming videos. I'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.